Is 6 o'clock, Tuesday, April 12th, and we will call the annual town board meeting or the monthly town board meeting to order. We will start with the pledge of allegiance, flags in the corner. Bob, can you start?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to approve the agenda for the meeting. Any questions there? Anybody? Okay. Number 3, approve minutes from the February 23rd and the March 8th, 2022 board minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve both February 23rd and the March 8th town board meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Approve the board meeting. Andy motion, Amber second. Any discussion?
Yeah, on the one about the $45,000 for the salt shed, are we going to make that decision? Or?
That will happen as Public Works. We'll make a recommendation at Public Works and bring that back to the town board.
And then, one of the things is also in the agenda was with Roland Hawks is the issue of 45th Street here in, who's going to determine that? Because it's going to be a bypass or a detour.
45th.
45th Street, there,
Yeah.
when they put in the roundabout?
Yep.
Yeah, that discussion, who's that going to be with? What?
The town of Grand Rapids will set the detours and where they go for that. So when that time comes, when we know exactly when it's going to start, we'll set the detours on where people kind of go. But I know that's a question on getting around and trying not to put too much traffic through that area. Probably do like a local traffic only type deal or something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or discussion on the minutes? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, we will move on. We'll move to the public comment section. People wishing to address the board will have 2 minutes and a total of 30 minutes doing it. Do I have anybody public comment? Seeing none, we will move on. We'll go to the monthly department reports. Start with Bob.
Good evening, board and residents. Get the right paper here. All right, we're currently staffed with 46 members. We lost one, we gained one. 5 are non-structural, 7 EMS only members. We're always looking for motivated individuals. Contact me if you're interested. Calls for service. We had 40 calls for service consisting of 35 EMS calls and 5 calls for service on fire. So respectively from that time last year, that was up 34% on the EMS calls and down 43% in the fire. We had 2 structure alarms, which were mutual aid calls with Rapids Fire in Nakusa. We had 1 motor vehicle accident, 1 power line issue, and 1 lift assist out in the town of Grant. So, training information, the monthly department training consisted of the following: EMS group trained on assessments, fire department trained on power transmission safety with Alliant Energy. They came and did a really nice presentation with us. Basically scared us on power like we should be. Under other, I got this last month 4 of my members passed their firefighter 1 state practical, which is huge. And I have 3 more through entry level that should be ready by summer to certify through their state practical for fire 1. So some good work there. So last week, myself and I took 2 of my officers, Captain Cook and Lieutenant Wallach. We went through DNR structural branch training down in Rome. That's where, like on the Cottonville fire and such, that's what goes on at the incident command post on those big project fires. So Our department held all the regular meetings, department meeting, officer meetings, training meetings. Public relations last month, we had our 2-day blood drive again, did our quarterly retiree breakfast. Our Easter egg hunt is this Saturday morning at 10 o'clock at MSTC, so we'll do that. And we'll have the local police department, fire department, United Ambulance Rescue will have their vehicles on display. 10 a.m. sharp. If you get there at 10:05, you're late.
Wear a
You're right.
snowsuit.
Yeah, well, it's looking like it's supposed to be clear, but it's not gonna be warm. So it's gonna be 30-some degrees on Saturday, but at least it won't be raining. So, smoke detector, we did 3 homes this last month, and we've sold 3 signs last month. There are no injuries to report from the safety department. Any questions from the board?
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You bet.
No?
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay, for the month of March, Grand Rapids Police Department handled 305 calls for service. That compared to 334 calls for service last March, about a 8.6% decrease in calls. And then board members up here have a breakdown of those calls. For the first 3 months of 2022, the Grand Rapids Police Department handled 922 calls for service. That compares to 866 calls for service for last year, which overall is about a 6.4% increase in calls. We issued 44 traffic citations, 8 municipal ordinance citations, and 48 written warnings for the month of March. On March 8th, Officer Kubishik and I participated in reality check with seniors at Lincoln High School. The reality check, it's a unique financial simulation event which every senior at Lincoln High School participates in. The goal of reality check is to provide a fun and effective experience for students to learn about personal accounting, financial responsibility, and life choices, all while interacting with business and local community members. One of the 3 activities that we were involved in is that students participate a community roundtable discussion. That's where representatives from local law enforcement and community leaders meet with the seniors in small groups to discuss pertinent topics for the area that help the seniors transition from high school life to life out on their own. And these roundtable discussions, we've been doing this many years now, provide some very interesting and insightful conversations. So, March 11th, I attended the 2022 Spring Legislative Breakfast held at Mid-State Technical College. It was a great opportunity to hear from the state legislatures, local community leaders, and other government officials regarding topics affecting our local community right here in Southwood County. And that event was sponsored by the Heart of Wisconsin Chamber of Commerce. On March 29th, all the officers of the Grand Rapids Police Department attended training on ATV and UTV enforcement. DNR wardens Brian Lockman and Corey Trowbridge provided the training, and a lot of other helpful, insightful things on effective ATV, UTV enforcement for our department. Vehicles in department are doing well outside normal maintenance, and once again, if you ever have any questions or concerns, please feel free to stop by. Any questions?
I'll make one comment, something you forgot. This last month, Grand Rapids was named the 3rd safest place to live in
Yes.
Wisconsin.
Yes.
So big thanks to you and your people, Bob and the Public Works guys. I think that's a huge feather in everybody's cap. People can sleep a little better, and good job to all of you.
Yeah, it's put out by Safewise every year, and last year I think we were 6th, and then so we moved up to 3rd this year. So
Podium finish.
it's a good recognition, state recognition for the whole town, not just our department, but all the departments. So, any other
Appreciate it.
questions? All right, thank you.
Mr. Treasurer.
Yes. First of all, I'd like to start out by thanking the members of the board and the department heads and everyone, including the office staff especially, for being so welcoming and being so helpful and being so patient. So I'm glad to still be here, and I hope that all my mistakes are correctable. For the month of March, we had a little over $28,000 in receipts taken in. The disbursements were a little more than $278,000. Cash on hand at the end of the month, all accounts, was just a little over $2 million, and that was consisted of $52,000 in checking, $1.378 in our repo account, $327,000 in our money market account, $280,000 left in our ARPA account, the grant that we received, I think, starting last summer or fall. And then just a little bit of money left in the tax account to make up the whole $2.038 million in our accounts at the end of March. Any questions?
Thank you. All right, moving on to number 6. Consideration of possible action for Sergeant Drinkwine attending Rifle Armor Recertification and Officer Conover attending Rifle Armor Certification Training in Madison on April 18th and 19th of 2022.
I'll make a motion to approve the request.
Second.
Bill Clinton make the motion, Andy second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. 7, consideration and possible action to approve the resolution from the Wood Trust Bank for 68668.5 for the purchase of the fire department rescue squad truck chassis that we discussed last month.
Question, if I may. So the resolution indicates that it's for 70,000, however, the agenda says 68,50.
Yeah, this was, the way it was written was a maximum of 70,
Oh.
but the actual dollar that came in was
Okay, not to exceed.
68,668.5,
Okay.
so that's all that.
If
was.
I could, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely.
So it was drafted before, I think it was drafted before we had a final number. If you do approve this, you can accept this as amended and just amend that 70,000 to the exact amount, so 668.50.
So that dollar amount is firm at the 68,50?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll go ahead and approve resolution 2022-06 for the total amount of 68,668.50.
I'll second that motion.
Bill second. Any further discussion? We need a roll call on this one, Nick?
You do not, but I just want to make one clarification. Your motion is to adopt the resolution as amended.
Yes,
amended.
as
And amend
amended.
that 70,000 to the exact amount.
66,
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks for clarifying that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to number 8, consideration and possible action to approve fire chief's request for $30,000 from ARPA to go towards the purchase of the new rescue squad, which was removed from the regular budget request. So again, Bob is sort of his own committee. If we look back on the sheet that we were all given, that amount and that truck was taken out of the original budget and was put in the pool of things to spend on ARPA after the January 1st.
So this is, if I may. So this is the rescue truck?
Yeah,
So this is the one that started out, it would cost this town nothing because they're taking it out of their funds. And all of a sudden, when ARPA money come along, they decided they wanted $30,000 toward this. Is that a correct assumption?
well, I don't know that it was ever agreed that it wouldn't cost the town a dime, but the ARPA funds would go towards it. Yes, it would help the purchase.
I thought it was said that we're doing this all on our own and out of the different funds. And
No, I will say this, that if we wait a year, we don't stand a chance of getting this type of vehicle for what we've got it for. So,
I recall it in the budget as, it came in as a budget item, but it could be considered an ARPA expense,
Right.
or we could put it on the regular budget,
right,
and we chose to mark it off and
Without the
kind of
correct.
move it on down the line and discuss it in ARPA meetings later on. I don't I guess I don't recall, and I could be wrong, but that it was something that we never thought there would ever be an expense on, as to my recollection of it.
Right, and just to add, I remember that it was, and I was, from what I can remember, Bob did make a mention that he felt that the fire department would be able to get this rescue truck, you know, with the firemen's funds. However, I do understand that that would take some time in order to get the funds funded for this. But Bill was right. From my recollection, I can remember that being said at one meeting. I don't know if it was agreed upon at that time that we'd say yay that we were going to, or nay. But I can understand the urgency because of how long it takes to be able to have these larger trucks manufactured and.
In the market and where
Yes,
they're going,
exactly,
it just continues to go up.
Mhm.
I mean, one more thing.
Mhm.
Thank you. Under number 9 of the minutes of the last meeting, it was brought up, and he indicated that it would be ready for an ARPA meeting, and we would discuss it when we're giving out ARPA funding, so. And we just moved on to the next item, and so I just see us on here.
Does it need to, and maybe Nick can clarify this as far as when we first discussed the ARPA funding, I thought as a group decided that we would dispense ARPA funds through ARPA meetings so that we could totally keep track of the funds and there would be minutes, you know, that we can pull that are completely under the ARPA meeting so that we could reflect back for auditing purposes. I understand that it would come to the board for a final decision anyways after the ARPA meeting. But I don't know if we need to actually, you know, have that step in there in order for us to make sure that we're set if an audit ever occurs.
Sure, I can speak to it. So you are right, I had asked for any approval that you make to be one that is noticed on an agenda and has minutes, exactly like it is on this agenda. It's up to you as the board, whether you want to have ARPA meetings where you decide this. I know many of them where you have a committee that oversees certain parts. You've sent it back to committees to make recommendations, and then it will come back in a town board meeting to make any approval. This is an authorized expenditure within the rules of the U.S. Treasury, but it's up to you whether you want to expend or allocate the money is really what you'd be doing. For purposes of reporting, I'd be calling it allocated because we wouldn't have spent it yet.
And we've done this already, right? We've approved ARPA funds in these meetings.
With the police squad, because that was one of the other items that was removed from the budget and earmarked for ARPA spending as what this truck here is, which is the only reason that it's on the agenda. I think what you're thinking with other committees, it was kind of go find out what each
Right.
area needed within the committee, come back, we would do that. Bob's, per se, his own committee, this was done in October, November, and it was sort of, we'll call it earmarked. That's why it's back on here to try to get them, this squad truck closed up so it doesn't continue to drag on. And
No, I understand that. And my thinking was just for auditing purposes, if we'd ever get audited, the ease of being able to, pull the information rather than go through a whole 2 years or however many years it would take us to do, but that's fine. I don't have a problem being that it has to come to the board, but maybe in the future, if other committees had requests that maybe we
Yeah, another
do
one.
a
Yeah.
ARPA meeting,
Yep,
just to
and
keep
there
it.
will be, when the committees are ready. I know
Right.
Personnel Committee, we aren't ready to come to anything with a
Okay.
recommendation, and other committees, I don't think anybody's ready for recommendations for ARPA spending for those other committees. But
Yeah.
this is
Right.
something that is ready. It's tied in, as Nick said, it's on the agenda. It would be approved through the board, and we can tie it back to the approval of this entire thing being
Yeah.
done. Should be easy to find.
Okay, good, okay. I feel better about that too.
I know the separate meetings we had discussed, just a note of this, was really during the budget time. And I know we wanted to keep things very much so separate during the budget time and not be mixing ARPA into the budget.
Right.
So I think that probably was some of the thought process, because I also thought we were maybe gonna be having other meetings on that, because it was more budget, and then if we're gonna discuss
Right.
ARPA, we'd do it separately.
That's a good point, yeah.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Amber makes a
I'll
motion.
second the motion.
Andy seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm opposed.
Those opposed. So noted. Motion passes. Closes the chapter on that. All right, number 9, consideration and possible action to raise the credit limit on department head of Grand Rapids credit cards, which is currently at $2,245. Where this comes from is the last meeting we had approved for Fire Chief Bob to buy some
Seal monitors.
Thank you, seal monitors. And he went to order them through the company and
Rejected.
didn't have enough funds on
Yeah.
on his credit card. So
What is the magical number that you're thinking about? Or is there any suggestions?
They're currently at $22.40 apiece, and the Wood Trust needs a approval by the board to raise the credit limit, so whatever you do it to, but, yeah, I couldn't even purchase the seal monitors because I didn't have enough room on my credit card.
I mean, considering they have to come to the board to get approval to spend that amount of money anyways, the amount of credit card, the amount that's on the credit card, I don't know is something, I would say probably 5,000 isn't a ton. They have to come and get it approved anyways before they could spend it, but
What is your suggestion, if I may ask Mike, Mr. Treasurer? Have you seen in the past?
I have seen this discussed, and the chair is right in the fact that you have numerous chances to approve this, starting with the budget. And so it's been my view, once the town approves the budget, that gives the authority of the department heads to move forward on those items that are included in their budget. So how it's paid for becomes secondary. I think the budget is still the driving document that controls a department's spending.
Okay.
No.
So, now, I notice when you buy things with your credit card, there's a 4% increase on them, so you don't get, and it's gone up just lately like that. So why something that's gonna cost $3,000, why can't it be paid by check? Or why was the credit card used?
I don't know.
I asked this question at the county level too, and they said, well, we would just pay that by check,
I'm not
I don't know
aware
if
of
there's
3% being popped on a lot of this stuff. You buy something online, out of a magazine, something like that, I don't think that there was a 3%. Typically, that's the only way that you either PayPal something, direct fund, or with a credit card. I don't know that you could take a magazine and send them a check. I don't even know if that's possible, but was there a 3%, 4% charge
No,
for a credit
I
card?
got them for the price that they were quoted at, and if I'd, to pay by check, we would've had to open a house account out, and I would've had to fill out a 4-page credit app. So I just used a different credit card to get it done.
I think vendors usually pay percentage of the purchase. You know, that they get a net amount, that, you know, the customer pays us the agreed upon amount, but then I think the vendor sometimes has a service charge that goes against that purchase.
And sometimes businesses will have a credit card processing fee if they have, you know, that they'll charge the customer after a certain dollar amount, which they could end up charging them for that percentage, whatever they are liable for. I know that has happened, but as long as,
Again, I think that they would have to come with the total amount, and if that surcharge was, they would see it before they do the total to bring it to the board, to have it approved, and we would see that we can make a decision at that time.
because sometimes too, what they'll end up doing is, let's say we have a $3,000 limit, as an example, that they could actually do 2 transactions of $1,500, and it would still go under that radar. You know what I'm saying? That could, you know, happen also, but I don't know how this one is actually set up.
One more question.
Bill?
Thank you. One other thing, how many credit cards are out there? We're asking for credit cards, plural. So is that 5 of them are out there, and we want to raise all 5 of
I
those
think it's-
limits?
I think it's just is it 4? One in-house and then each of the, so.
Street,
Mills
fire, and police,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Oh, so then would this just be yours, Bob, or would that be,
Oh, I
that is a
assume-
good question, I didn't know.
Mel could have to make a purchase next month. The office has a card, the clerk has a card, police chief, fire chief, and the head of streets.
I mean, I think the credit cards are a safe way to purchase something because it's the safest way if there is a fraudulent transaction or something, we have the ability to go dispute it and say, that's not ours, we didn't charge that, and that they're responsible for it. If it's on a credit card, it's not if we start doing other things.
I just guess that wasn't my question. You know what I mean? My question was, how many people have it and do they all need it? It's
4.
4, and we want to raise 4 of them.
Yeah. If we, I'm a stock proponent, we have to trust these people with something this simple. I mean, they do a lot more important things in this town than buy something with a credit card. We have to trust them. I don't think we're asking a ton here to raise it to $5,000 to.
I'll make a motion to raise it to 5,000.
I'll
Thank you,
second.
Andy, Patty, second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Consideration and possible action for temporary Class B liquor license for the Bluegrass at the Lake, June 9th through the 11th, 2022.
And can we do the ones that are handed to us also? Or is that-
That's further down.
Oh,
This is something different.
Special permit.
This is a permit for the Bluegrass that I see here was organized in 1946. That's pretty
I'll make a
impressive.
motion to approve the.
Bill makes a motion. Do I
Second.
have a second? Andy, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Forward.
I know they've been doing it for years and there's never been any problems that I'm aware of.
Good. Discussion and consideration to implement a formal evaluation of employees who are under the direction of the town board. This is something that's coming from the personnel committee. And Amber has given a sample. This is something that her and I both feel are very important to be able to sit down with the employees, give them feedback on how they're doing, get feedback from them on how they're feeling within. You know, the employee market right now is very hostile. We want to keep everybody happy, and we'd like to have the highest performing people working for us. So, anybody have any questions on the?
I have a question, but go ahead, Nick.
Just so everybody's clear, can we clarify the under direction of town board, just exactly what employees we're talking about?
It'd be the personnel committee.
No, the employees.
Oh,
I know the
no.
person, I'm asking, I'm kind of
Oh,
asking a question I know
okay,
the
you're
answer
looking
to.
at
You had,
who would all be?
yeah, you had discussed this at the
Evaluated?
personnel committee, I believe. And I think there was a discussion about certain employees, including the part-time treasurer, administrative assistant, is that
Mhm.
correct?
Mhm.
So it would not include then the police chief and fire chief?
No, I think we would want to sit down with them, for
Good.
sure,
Okay,
Mhm.
yeah,
for sure.
So it'd be anyone we have the contract agreement with, and then the office.
okay. Oh,
Mhm.
excellent.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I have a question about it.
Mhm.
Just, so, and if I may ask this to Mel and to the chief, I know your staff is paid on call firefighters. I assume you do evaluation process there, but like for your police officers that are working for the town, do you do an evaluation process for your officers and their part-time?
Currently, there's not an evaluation process, no.
Okay. I mean, I'm in favor of the evaluation process, and I think this is something we should do, but what I don't like is, I would like to see our department heads be more involved in the evaluation process. It's not been the case, and I think the personnel committee can maybe do the evaluation of our department heads. But I think subsequently from that, I think we should be pushing our department heads to develop and implement an evaluation process, because they are part of the supervision of those people, and I think they have the most knowledge of performance, what they are doing, maybe what they're not doing, or ways they can improve, or ways we can improve. And I think that that's really critical here. I don't know if that's being looked at.
No,
Yeah,
I know what
so-
you're saying, I don't, go ahead, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
so my hope was that we could do it with these guys this year, and then from there, work with everybody to kind of develop something for their staff that they supervise.
Okay.
Mhm.
Because I think the town board really should be supervising the department heads,
Mhm.
and then the department heads are supervising everybody else.
For sure.
Yeah,
Yep,
I'd
absolutely.
step on their
Yeah.
guys' toes,
Yep.
for sure. Mhm.
Meeting? May I?
Mhm. Bill?
Thank you. Anyway, so the town board will sit down once a year and do, I mean, this is very similar to what we have on the county, you probably
The
recognize.
personnel committee will sit down once a year with these folks and go through this.
And they're going to go through the evaluations.
So I think it's like the contract agreements. We go through it, and then everybody sees it and approves, and then we have the discussion.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I'd just really like to see that pushed down to the
Mhm.
department heads is,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
agree.
see a reason why we can't do that.
No, they're
Sure.
dealing with them day to day, they've got a much better idea
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
how things are going, for sure. This is a start, so I think it's, go ahead, Patty, sorry.
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to say that I'm very glad to see this, because that's one of the things that I always have thought for a long time that it should occur, so thank you very much for bringing this forward.
They're gonna be yearly?
We'll do annual,
Yep.
yeah.
Annual, okay.
Yeah, I was thinking probably September, October.
Right,
type
because we
time
wanted it
frame.
before budget time.
Right.
Yeah.
But it could be less for new hires.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
Or
yeah.
if there's an issue that comes up, you know, we
Then
can
you
tackle
can-
it at that
okay.
time too.
Perfect,
For
thank
sure.
you.
So you need a motion to put this into effect?
Nick?
You can have a motion, sure.
Okay, yeah, let's take a motion just so we're covered. Somebody got a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the formal evaluation of employees under the direction of the town board per the sample given.
Evaluation, a second.
I would second that.
Andy, second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion's done. Consideration and possible action on developing a compost site and implementing brush collection for the residents of Grand Rapids. This is something that came out of the recycling committee. We are currently selling compost passes. The city is charging $57 per pass. The town gets $2 of that, and that's to cover the girls' times. We've sold anywhere between 550 and 625, I think was the most that we sold in any given year, somewhere.
Those figures, but we
Yeah,
had
but
those
it-
figures are,
Yeah, it's quite a few.
Mhm.
You know, and I think it would be a good thing for us to start to look at this, try to find a location and then kind of drill down from there as far as how to police it, charge to cover it, what to do with all of the stuff that would be dumped. I think it would be a good thing for the people in the town here, considering how many people we sell passes to. And I think more would use it if it was local.
Mr. Chairman. I did pass out something at the town of Saratoga. I don't know if you saw it. The town of Saratoga is going through the same thing.
Okay.
And because they do it with the city also, and they're thinking of their own. But several years ago, I made a suggestion to do this, and we worked extensively on it, you know, I mean, and a lot of it's got to do with the town dump and doing leaves and stuff like that, you know, and where we could put them on our own property and compost them, you know. And we did extensive report, but the town never moved forward on it. And we also went, you know, with the dog park too. This is part of that. Have a dog park. But I think it's a good idea, and I hear a lot of people would like to know about brush pickup, you know. That we have done twice, and but you gotta watch it with this compost stuff, you know, going into our logs and wood. That was terrible when.
Yeah, and I'm not saying, that's why I wanna look at several sites. I'm not saying that the current dump location and that, you know, I get nervous with the amount of traffic that goes in there with the Public Works building there. You know, are there other locations, Mike, I'll ask you, you know, is there another location in the town that would be well suited? Do we possibly go to the county about up on U where all that was dredged to see if we could partner with them? Something up there potentially? I don't know what that's like.
Well, that's kind of run by the park, so I kind of doubt that they're gonna be in favor of that at all. They have several different things that go on with activities through Kiwanis and everything else through the course of the year up there, so all you can do is look for it. One thing you might want to take into consideration, I don't know what you're going to do with your compost, but you're opening up a big can of worms because the city has to pay to get rid of theirs. It was all fine and dandy in the beginning, but the last few years they've paid big money to get rid of it because there's no place to go with it. Nobody wants it.
Oh, the compost?
And they had some really good stuff, but they've actually paid Walasek and a couple other ones to take the stuff. It's cost them more money in the end than what it was worth. So.
We started to discuss that at the,
Yeah, and maybe it just comes down to a brush and sticks and other thing collection site,
Right.
potentially.
yeah. And then also, on March 27th of 2020, the Recycling and Solid Waste Committee did do some recommendations that we had thought as a committee back then of what can, you know, as far as the suggestions for a compost, not the composting of leaves, but just the brush collection, where we thought would work, working with Dorhorst. We had Dorhorst out there. And what they suggested would be a good area, how we could move traffic in and out. We talked about fencing in to an area so that we could control when and who and what could be dumped in there, because sometimes we would get swing sets and
Right.
that.
Yeah, I would highly recommend that we.
So, I can, you know, and then as far as the brush pickup, like Bill had mentioned, we do the Christmas trees, but that's, you know, like a certain, you know, certain week. Is it a week that you do the Christmas tree
That
pickup?
lasts for a month.
Yeah,
Because nobody
so-
can put them out on the same day.
Yeah,
It's advertised, they should be put out between such and such a date, you start on this date, and you end up going over the town about 10 times to get them.
yeah, so we would have to, you know, that is something that we can use as an example of how much time, how much effort, you know, and that's just around a season, which
Right.
this would be a season. But I can give everyone a copy of this just to refresh our memories. And Mel had suggested internet for cameras and things like that, just to keep an eye on it because of the traffic. But if we do it a certain period of time, like we ended up doing it just a few weeks last year because we wanted to give it a test to see how well it worked. And I don't know how much of a problem it was for the crew as it was, but, you know, we could start that time frame again soon because of the fact that it's, you know, spring cleanup, and then maybe extend it more and then have the brush chipped up like we did before.
Right.
You know, that
Some
maybe
chips.
extend it a little bit longer, just to give more people more time, and just stick with the brush and not the grass clippings, because we did have a grass clipping dump, but because of our current cameras that we have, we were able to track that individual down and have appropriate measures.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I guess, you know, when I look at a brush pickup, it's convenient for the people, but I worry about liability of employees, equipment, fuel costs, employee costs, everything that,
Contamination,
yeah,
yeah.
everything that goes along
it does.
with that wear and tear on all that. I get nervous about doing something like that versus having somebody stand by a gate, making sure that they've got the correct pass and not dumping the wrong stuff
Right.
once a week or twice a week, whatever. That to me is a lot safer for us, I think.
Yeah.
So-
And we can control, you know, the guys last year ended up having to spend, I shouldn't say a lot of time, but had to really pay attention to keep pushing the piles up because people were not cognitive of getting close to the pile to dump. They would dump way far away, and then other people couldn't dump either, so they had to spend time pushing the pile up.
Yeah, no,
So,
a lot of people
there's
don't know how to back
expense.
a trailer.
Yeah, that probably was the reason. So we can, you know, I don't know if you're looking for a motion or,
No, I think we
because we're
just,
gonna be meeting
yeah,
again
I
soon.
think it's just a discussion to put it out there, to get people's minds working on different questions like we just spitballed here. I think those are all important things, and get everybody's input. And I don't know that it's something we can even do this year. Potentially, it'd be great if we could, but I don't know if that is something we can get done or not, unless it's an emergency one, because we get a nasty storm that comes through like we did a couple years ago.
Right.
Then, you know, then we'll have to
Yeah.
change course then. But I just think that if we can get people thinking and get it done, and possibly next
Right.
spring be able to open up, I think it'd be great for, I think we'd sell more passes than what we do now at a cheaper price. I think more
Yeah.
people would use it, because I think a lot of people are turned off by the $57
Right.
per pass.
And plus, I think it really helps with the fire danger around the town. You know, there's subdivisions that do the brush collection just to keep the hazards of, you know, debris down to.
Keep people from burning.
Yeah,
I think
that too.
the hail helped the fire hazard today, I think, huh?
Yeah, probably so.
So I think, if I may,
Yeah, Bill.
so I think we probably should continue with the committee, recycling and solid waste, to put this on the agenda and have discussions.
Yeah.
So the next meeting on April.
Well, I don't, the April 23rd meeting, I think, is kind of
Be
enough
long.
to talk about.
Okay, well, we can get another one soon.
Yeah.
So we'll go to, moving on, then we'll move to number 13, discussion of possible action on well testing in the town.
If I may discuss that, we've had quite a few meetings at the county level, and the town residents are wondering, are we gonna get a run at everything that happened here in the town? What wells are polluted, and where it's coming from, and things like that. And Sean is gonna give us that. I can't pronounce his last name, it starts with a W. But anyways, he's going to present a pass to me, not a pass, but a thing on it, the outcome, and I will get that out to all of you and to use. And we are going to be continuing well testing, and Grand Rapids will be considered in that, so. Well testing will continue as soon as budget time comes at the county level.
Now, are you talking well testing where people are gonna have to get a bottle and take it in for testing, or they're gonna come to certain locations and?
No, you can take it in and
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. Discussion of possible action on setting date for the 2022 Choose to Reuse event.
September 17th is what we would like the board to consider. We will only have one this year. It'll be the third Saturday in September. And collecting the same stuff we collected the last time. No electronic equipment at this time, although there is a $53,000 grant out there that I'm trying to get about collecting those electronics. And that's always good because it pays for a lot of stuff. And we are people that have these TVs and stuff, they just put it in their garages because it costs so much. So I think maybe we get to apply for a grant, see if we get it, and maybe we can do some of that electronic stuff.
I would strongly suggest the committee beforehand and before that mailing goes out, work with Mel and his crew on traffic. I know there was some confusion last year, but I think the way that it flowed last year is the way that it should flow. I just think we need to get it out to people earlier than maybe what they got, and to make sure, because having that thing going across and people trying to go left and right out of there, I wasn't part of it, but what I heard a couple years before was a myth. So I would suggest that we sit with Mel and come up with a map, and that map goes out with the mailing, and people are informed, and Mel's people, whether it's the part-time people or whoever comes to help, knows exactly so they can tell people.
Well, closing the road to it, and what was the big dilemma there, because there was nobody out there saying why the road was closed, and people couldn't go south on 32nd Street, and people just went home with it. I mean, I received a lot of calls and complaints
Well, I
about
think,
that.
like I said, if we inform the people well ahead, and Mel's folks that are helping out on the road know exactly what to tell the people when they show up, those questions, people have to understand that there has to be a flow to these things, and cross traffic is not a good flow if you've got a lot of people. Safety first here. So if we inform everybody, that's the best we can do, and if people get mad that is not the way that it always was, then we can't help that all the time. So do I have a motion to set the date on September 17th, 2022 for the Choose to Reuse event?
I can make that motion.
Patty makes the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Bill seconds. Any further discussion?
Did we decide on the hours?
Same as last year.
8 to noon though?
Yes. No, not till.
Or 8 to 2?
8 to 2.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Discussion on meeting with Lampert Lee scheduled for April 26, 2022 regarding the Edgewater report.
I have some questions on it. For that, we have the fire station. I've asked for the fire station for that day because, and if we can go by Zoom with anything like we had that one time.
Yeah, as long as there's a computer there, we can.
Yeah,
We can hook up
he
the
said
Zoom.
there would be a computer there.
Do you have a Zoom account at the fire station? Do you have a?
Yes, we do.
Okay, all right, yeah, then that's no problem, that's easy to do.
And if there is the crowd.
Am I just gonna send you the link then to the invite? And you'll
Pardon?
take care of it? I send you the link to the invite and you'll take care of it?
No, I don't know anything about that stuff.
Okay.
You and I will work on it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes,
I spent too much time on Zoom, so I know much too much.
and I'm
about it.
sending you along, getting that agenda together. I have people from the DNR, I have Bullbaker, and I have about 6 different people that are gonna be there to answer different questions on the water situation, and including the 2 mile. Great, so.
Is Lambert Lee going to be there?
Yes, Lampert Lee is going to be there.
That would be our main
Yes,
one.
I have invited him and he said he would be there. So I'm wondering about, with this Zoom thing and the TV being there, can we put that, no, we can't put that up on there.
Not with Zoom and everything, no.
So people are not going to get, can they get the 10-page copy?
Well, if they wanted it, they can come here and get a public records request, and they could have a copy of their own.
And we each were supposed to get one, and do we have to request them?
If people wanted one, they could get one. I don't think she made copies for everybody because it's 80-some pages long, so I don't think she made a copy for everybody on the board. If they wanted one, they definitely could have one. Otherwise, I think there were some people who came in and requested it, and they're getting them out as quick as they can. Again, with what's happening in the office, they're doing the best they can.
I guess they've only had one person request it. Okay, thank you.
All right, consideration and possible action on Wood County's 50/50 road aid project. It's something that comes up every spring that we vote to approve and work with Roland on that. I've got some documentation on what happens, but it's money from the county, so we just need a motion to go after it, and we'll do what we've done in the past.
I'll make that motion to approve the Wood County 50/50 road aid
Patty
project.
makes a motion,
I'll second.
Amber second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. I will work with Roland on that. Consideration and possible action on bidding out the purchase of fractured rock for road projects. Jewel typed up basically the same exact notice that was last year. She talked to Public Works guys, and the amounts have pretty much stayed the same from last year. So what we'll do is we'll get it posted, we will get sealed bids. Those sealed bids will come in and we'll open them at May's meeting and look at who has what, and we'll make an approval for the year's gravel at that time.
Can I ask you a question? And maybe Mike might be able to. Is this what we're currently using then to dress the edges of the road rather than the gravel?
Yep.
Okay, good. That's a good thing. Gravel just dissipates so fast.
Mhm.
I'll make a motion to approve this Grand Rapids bid notice as presented.
Okay, Peggy makes a motion, we have a second?
I'll second that.
Andy second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. We'll move on to the chairman's, of pass that to Amber, down to Bill, Patty, and Andy. These are just the appointments for this year. So, any questions?
The Plan Commission. Can I be on that again? I'm not saying it.
It's not on, planning commission's not on?
It's not on her.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I'll get that amended. Yeah.
So you're chairman.
Yep.
Is there a vice chair for that or no?
So, this is what I'd like to see happen with the Plan Commission. Jason Grunberg is currently the chair.
Mhm.
I would like to see him continue with that. And we have in the past appointed a vice chair. However, I would like to be able to see that the vice chair openings stay open, because we are able to, at each meeting, appoint the vice chair if the chair is not there. That
So
way
a
we.
different person runs the meeting if the
Yes, and
chairperson's in
have,
there.
yes, have experience, so that's what I'd like to see happen.
If it's working for you guys and there's
It has.
no opposition from.
Is that what you guys currently do?
Yes,
From-
since, yeah, we had, since our current, Jason, our Justin, Connor had resigned, and then we didn't have, Jason Grunberg had taken the chair spot, so
Mhm.
then we didn't have a vice chair. And that's what we've been doing currently, but our commissioners are very good. All of them are totally capable of being able to run a meeting, I truly believe. But I'd like to be able to have it open, that we can take turns, so that everybody could have experience.
Yeah, if it's working, then let's keep it going. No sense in inventing a new mousetrap.
Perfect,
For
thank
sure.
you, appreciate that.
And I'll get
I-
this.
I'm not chair of the recycling and solid
No,
waste.
no, I felt there needed to be a change there, so I made a change. So,
Okay, you have the 28th meeting.
Oh, I guess I didn't say that. Oh.
any other questions? Okay. Moving on. Number 19, March disbursement vouchers.
We have to remember to circulate them for signature. I don't have any questions.
Any other questions, or any questions at all? Not, we'll move on. Number 20, operator license applications. We've got quite a few. Looks like mainly golf course type activity, seasonal. Mel, these all obviously checked out. The 1 year's the operator license.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Other than the
There's
one down
denied
here
on
that
there.
was, right? Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the
The
approved
approved.
1 years. And included in that motion is to deny the 1 year denial that Mel recommended to be denied.
I'll second.
Amber second, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Right?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, monthly reports from committees. Public Works, trying to get one together to do a drive around and look at roads, try to get together a plan of action for the budgeted money to be spent there as far as a priority. I'd like to possibly do it as early as this Thursday. We've got a lot of meetings this month, I know. I'd like to get as many people there. I don't know what everybody's schedule looks like. I need to check with Mike and Rick and finalize and see what they have also. So it's kind of, I understand it's last minute, but, and then the other thing we need to discuss there would be the salt shed. And we'll talk about that there and take a look, so. That's where that is. Airport Commission, we had a meeting last week there. Fuel sales surprisingly are up. We had a big jet from China, private jet from China that spent a week there. Bought a nice amount of fuel and spent some money locally, which is a good thing. The Gulf season is starting, I believe, this next week they're opening up sometime. So the airport will start to get busy. They're putting in a new fuel system, and that will start, I believe, on the 19th of April, and will go for about a month. They'll still have the old fuel system that they'll be using, other than a couple days when they're switching from the old to the new. They'll have a truck there to be able to, that shouldn't affect anybody here, maybe it will, your pilots, but otherwise the airport continues to do well. There was also some talk about, in the past there was a walking trail that went around the airport and it was cut off due to some land changing hands and was closed. There was some question about reopening, some discussions there to find out, because there's quite a few people that still use parts of it. So that will be an ongoing discussion to see if there's something that can be done to stay in tight along the fence and off of private people's land. And then there's an area over by the corner of Z and, is that Airport Avenue? What's that road that runs along the back side of the airport there?
Range line.
Range line?
Range line.
Okay.
Or range line.
Thank you, but there's some stuff that dumps in kind of on that corner of Z and Range Line that we'd have to potentially go around out on the road, but I think it's a good conversation to continue to have. So recycling, solid waste, and water.
Well,
Oh, well, I pretty much give my report on that because I had them on the agenda there, but when we met, and those were the things that came up.
Okay.
So the next one is the 23rd.
the 26th.
26.
26.
Yep.
Okay. Planning Commission.
We met on March 14th. We had a zoning permit for a garage and 3 dog exemption permits. And we continue our discussion with updating the permitted and conditional uses for all of the different zones that we have. And then also there was a possible, we discussed the potential camping regulations in residential districts. And our current ordinance clarifies that that isn't possible to have camping in the residential districts. So the administrative assistants just needed clarification as far as that goes. We also met on March 28th, and we had another dog exemption permit, a chicken, and then a vinyl storage structure zoning permit. And again, we discuss our permitted and conditional uses for our different zones. So our next meeting is, our normal May meeting.
Thank you. Public buildings.
We didn't meet.
Legislative, we will meet tomorrow night on that. Public safety.
We have not met, but we are going to be meeting. We're gonna try to iron out the contracts for our fire contracts. It's gonna be on the agenda, so I'll be in all with Amber to get that squared away.
When do they expire?
The end of the year.
This year, okay. Thank you.
Economic development.
We didn't meet, but we'll need to in the next couple weeks, because on the May agenda, we'll have approval for the trail signs that the Village of Parlor Woods has the grant funding for, so we need to get that done so they can get them in the ground.
Personnel.
Yeah, I think everything was agenda.
We'll update.
Or will be.
Yeah, that was, most of those were closed session, and we'll catch everybody up in the closed session at the end of this meeting. WTA meetings.
Yes. The WTA meeting was held on March 18th. We had speakers there from the land surveyors, and also several of the state or federal representatives were there, or their aides were there. And District Representative Jack Henry from the Towns Association was there and talked about town boards and the different town boards having good attendance at those meetings, at the district meetings. And also there was a motion made to have 11 meetings and monthly meetings, and that passed. So they wanted quarterly meetings. I think 6 of them wanted quarterly meetings, and the rest of them that were there and present and voting. So it was 11 monthly meetings. The next meeting is on April 22nd in the town of Cranmore, and the speaker is going to be Sarah Christensen from Emergency Government. And that's it.
Thank you.
I have a question for Public Works. Have you spoken or talked about anything more in regards to the Washington Street project? I know you'd mentioned that.
We met with Roland, and there's that new
Okay.
that we'll be going for, so the money is set for that, but if we
Mhm.
can get something with this new one, then we can forego that.
Add to
other
it,
one.
okay, so that's gonna be a continuation when you
Yep.
meet with them again, okay?
Yep.
Thank you.
Reports from individual town board members. Amber, anything?
No.
Bill, anything?
Yes, okay, the district meetings, I don't know, I went to the district meeting, they're for the WTA, and I suggest that people go there because you have to be trained for board of review. And I give that material to Nick, he has that material, so. One person has to be trained for board of review every year. So if you don't have one, you have to have one trained, and I am trained, so. And then, another thing is the next meeting that's in Stevens Point, the closest is on 4/29. It starts at 8:15 in the morning and 3 p.m. And it's a $60 registration fee. And one other thing is the annual conference is being held in Appleton. And that's going to be at the old Paper Valley, and that's October 9th through the 11th. So, and they want your, they'd like you to get signed up for it, so. That's all I have.
Patty?
I just want to say thanks, Mike, for stepping up to the plate. We really do appreciate your efforts and staying on board as long as you have. I know you wanted to have it more short-term, but we really appreciate you being here, sincerely.
First 80-degree day, I'm gonna be wavering.
I feel a sickness coming on, but the way it's going on, it'll be a while.
Thank goodness.
Thank you,
No,
Patty.
You're welcome.
I don't have anything.
Patty, do you have anything else?
No, that was it, thanks.
The only thing I've got, on the computer system, the county treasurer did a wonderful help for us. She sent out a blurb to all the treasurers within the county to find out what systems they were working. Basically, it came back to two systems. One is QuickBooks, which, in talking with CLA, QuickBooks probably isn't something that we want to or can use. And the other one was called Workhorse. And I've looked at it, they're based out of Wausau. Several of the townships use it around us. Port Edwards, Rome, and I have to look back and name at least one other one. I've looked at it on the computer, it looks really, really nice. When we figure out the treasurer thing, I'd like to, at that time, set up a video conference.
Demonstration.
A demonstration for them to go through, and I want that new person to be part of that initial thing, to get input and see what it is.
Great.
Because I know that Mike struggles mightily with the current system, as does CLA.
Great. Yeah.
So if we can make the move. And also, I did talk to Lisa, it's something that she could probably zoom into also, and just watch on her computer, so she's in the talks
loop.
also when that happens. So, we're closer, now we gotta get this treasurer step out of the way, and then we can hopefully move forward on that and get that done, and try to get some ease for everybody here and get that one more thing behind us. So, I think that's it. I think that's all I've got.
And with that Workhorse, when you had viewed it on the computer, did they have a system set up for the permits?
They have what's called miscellaneous billing,
Okay.
which I believe falls under that. So you can do like dog licenses and
Right.
permits and other things under miscellaneous billing.
Okay.
And they've got payroll, they've got accounting, they've got all that stuff, so.
Okay, good.
I think
There's
they're
several.
modules, right?
What's that?
They're
They're different
modules.
modules.
Oh,
So-
do you buy the
Yeah.
different modules
Yep.
to it
Yep.
too?
Yeah,
Oh,
because there's stuff that you could buy, like, one is cemetery, which we
Sure.
don't really have anything for,
Right.
or, utility billing, you can buy a module for utility billing, and so there's different things. We can
Oh.
pick and choose what we've got, and every module comes with X amount of hours of training. And what's nice is, like I said, they're in Wta, and the one treasurer that I did talk to that uses it quite a bit, said that the longest she's waited for help after a call was 3 hours, and that was very unusual. So it sounds like they're on top of things,
Yeah.
and if we need to, we can drive to their office and send Rocco and Vinny up there to get it, so.
So is the sheet passed around for signing?
Yeah. So if you, otherwise we can use one of mine too. Oh, get it.
Here, I'll let you take what you want. All right, moving on to number 23, public input. People wishing to address the board will be limited to 2 minutes each, with public input limited to a total of 16 minutes. Any input? So, if you could stand and say your name to the camera.
Bob Hyatt, Fire Chief. I just want to thank the board for helping me. Just a few comments on the truck discussion. Yes, initially, we were hoping to fund that truck wholly by ourselves. But as we built the truck, as with the inflation on everything, it came in more expensive. I was hoping we could build that truck for 180, 190,000. It came in just under 220. So, fire apparatus, ambulances as a whole have went up 32% in the last 12 months. That just came out of my last North Central Chiefs meeting. Pierce alone raised their prices 12% on January 1st and another 5% on March 15th. As an example, Stevens Point Fire just inked a deal on a fire engine in December. And from the time they started speccing the truck, it went from $875,000 to $1,070,000. So that's this truck. We kind of put the cart in front of the horse a little bit, but the little few pennies we're going to pay in interest are going to far outweigh how fast the inflation is going on vehicles right now. Not to mention, you can't even get chassis right now. Like, most fire truck manufacturers and/or ambulance manufacturers are out. They're telling their customers at least 18 to 24 months. There are currently across the state, they're pulling ambulances out of scrap heaps in the back of yards because you cannot even get a build date on an ambulance anymore. So, anyways, I just want to thank the board for helping with that project. And yes, we originally intended to pay for it wholly. But like I said, it's a $220,000 truck, and we're picking up 190 of it. So thank you.
Any other public input? All right. Hearing none, number 24, Grand Rapids Town Board may go into closed session pursuant with Wisconsin Statute Section 19.851C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. Interview candidates for treasurer administrative assistant position. Do I have a motion to go into closed session?
I can make that motion.
Patty makes a second. Motion, Andy seconds, discussion. All in favor?
Roll call vote.
Oh, sorry. Bill?
Aye.
Patty?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
Jeremy? Aye. Amber?
Aye.
All right, we are in closed session.